I still remember the sound of my gaming console shattering against the wall. My father stood there, face red with anger, while my mother nodded approvingly behind him. I was 16, and in their eyes, I had just wasted another perfectly good Saturday playing those stupid games instead of studying for my SATs. "This ends now," Dad had shouted, his voice echoing through our suburban home. "No son of mine is going to waste his life staring at a screen." What they didn't know was that I hadn't been just playing games that day. I'd been teaching myself game development, learning to code by modifying existing games. The console they destroyed had contained months of my work, my first attempts at creating something of my own. 10 years later, I stood in my corner office on the 30th floor of downtown Seattle's most prestigious tech building, looking down at the city sprawled below. On my desk sat the latest issue of Tech Innovator magazine with my face on the cover. Alex Chen, the gaming genius behind Horizon Studios' $2 billion success. My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Chen, your parents are here for their appointment." I took a deep breath. "Send them in." The last time I'd seen them was 5 years ago, when I'd moved out of their house after another explosive argument about my career choices. "Game design isn't a real job," Dad had yelled. "You're throwing away your future." Now they were here, probably having seen the magazine cover or heard about our company's latest valuation, probably wanting to reconnect with their suddenly successful son. The office door opened and they walked in, looking exactly as I remembered, yet somehow smaller. Dad wore his best suit, the one he saved for important business meetings. Mom clutched her designer handbag like a shield. "Alex," Mom started, her voice trembling slightly. "You look successful." I gestured to the chairs in front of my desk. "Please sit down." They sat stiffly, taking in my office with wide eyes. The wall of industry awards, the prototype VR headsets, the framed article about our latest game-breaking sales records. "Son," Dad cleared his throat. "We've been thinking. Perhaps we were too harsh about your interests." I almost laughed. Interests. That's what they were calling it now. Not waste of time, or childish obsession, or path to failure. "We just wanted what was best for you," Mom added quickly. "We never imagined that games could make money." I finished for her. "That the industry you mocked would become bigger than Hollywood. That the son you were so ashamed of would build something worth billions." They flinched at my tone, but I wasn't done. They needed to understand exactly what they had dismissed all those years ago. "Let me tell you what happened after you destroyed my console," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I spent that summer working at the mall, saving every penny. But instead of buying another gaming system, I bought a used laptop. I taught myself programming, spent nights learning game design, level creation, user interface development. I stood up and walked to the window, remembering those long nights hunched over that second-hand laptop, learning, creating, dreaming. In college, while you were telling everyone I was wasting my time with computer games instead of focusing on business classes, I was developing my first indie game. It made $50,000 in its first month on Steam." Mom gasped softly. They hadn't known about that. I'd never told them. Just like I'd never told them about the game development competitions I'd won, or the industry contacts I'd made. After graduation, when you were so disappointed that I took a lowly game testing job instead of joining Dad's accounting firm, I was learning every aspect of game development from the ground up, understanding what makes games successful, what players really want. I turned back to face them. "And 3 years ago, when you told all our relatives I was still playing with games instead of getting a real career, I was founding Horizon Studios with money from investors who actually understood the industry's potential." Dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Son, we understand now that we were wrong. That's why we're here. Your father's accounting firm. Well, times have been tough. We thought perhaps. You thought perhaps I could give you jobs." I finished flatly. "Now that my waste of time has become successful." Mom reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. "We've prepared resumes. Your father has 30 years of financial experience and I have an MBA. I held up my hand, stopping her. "Let me tell you about my company. We employ over 500 people. Our latest game has 20 million active players. We're developing technology that will revolutionize virtual reality gaming." I picked up a tablet from my desk and pulled up some figures. Last year, we made $400 million in revenue. This year, we're projected to double that. And do you know what our most valuable asset is? They shook their heads. Passion. Every person who works here, from our janitors to our senior developers, understands and loves gaming. They see it as more than just a way to make money. They see it as a way to create experiences, to tell stories, to bring people together. I set the tablet down. When I was 16, you didn't just break my console. You tried to break my dream. You saw no value in something that didn't fit your definition of success. But we know better now, Dad protested. We can see that games are profitable. That's exactly the problem, I said quietly. You still don't understand. This isn't about profit. It never was. It's about passion, creativity, innovation. Things you never valued. I walked to a display case on the wall. Inside was an old, broken gaming console, carefully preserved. My first one, the one they had destroyed. I keep this here as a reminder, I told them. Not of your lack of faith in me, but of how important it is to believe in something even when others don't see its value. Mom started to speak, but I held up my hand again. I have another meeting in 5 minutes. A partnership discussion with one of Japan's largest gaming companies. But before you go, I want to show you something. I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall behind me transformed into a massive display. On it appeared footage from our latest game, a sprawling virtual world where millions of players built, created, and connected with each other. This is what you called a waste of time, I said softly. This is what you couldn't understand. Games aren't just entertainment. They're the future of how people will learn, socialize, and experience stories. I turned off the display and sat back down at my desk. I won't be able to offer you positions at Horizon Studios. Not because I'm bitter about the past, but because you still don't understand what we're really building here. But we're family, Mom whispered, tears in her eyes. Yes, we are, I agreed, and I'm willing to work on rebuilding our relationship. But it has to be based on understanding and respect, not just on the money I've made. I pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is the contact information for a career counselor who specializes in helping people transition into the tech industry. She can help you understand what skills you'd need to develop to actually work in gaming or tech. If you're serious about changing careers, start there. They stared at the card like it was written in a foreign language. But that could take years, Dad protested. We can see that games are profitable. That's exactly the problem, I said quietly. You still don't understand. This isn't about profit. It never was. It's about passion, creativity, innovation. Things you never valued. I walked to a display case on the wall. Inside was an old, broken gaming console, carefully preserved. My first one, the one they had destroyed. I keep this here as a reminder, I told them. Not of your lack of faith in me, but of how important it is to believe in something even when others don't see its value. Mom started to speak, but I held up my hand again. I have another meeting in 5 minutes. A partnership discussion with one of Japan's largest gaming companies. But before you go, I want to show you something. I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall behind me transformed into a massive display. On it appeared footage from our latest game, a sprawling virtual world where millions of players built, created, and connected with each other. This is what you called a waste of time, I said softly. This is what you couldn't understand. Games aren't just entertainment. They're the future of how people will learn, socialize, and experience stories. I turned off the display and sat back down at my desk. I won't be able to offer you positions at Horizon Studios, not because I'm bitter about the past, but because you still don't understand what we're really building here. But we're family, Mom whispered, tears in her eyes. Yes, we are, I agreed, and I'm willing to work on rebuilding our relationship, but it has to be based on understanding and respect, not just on the money I've made. I pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is the contact information for a career counselor who specializes in helping people transition into the tech industry. She can help you understand what skills you'd need to develop to actually work in gaming or tech. If you're serious about changing careers, start there. They stared at the card like it was written in a foreign language. But that could take years, Dad protested. Yes, I nodded. Just like it took me years to build this company, there are no shortcuts, not in gaming, not in business, not in life. As they stood to leave, looking shell-shocked and defeated, I added one final thought. When you're ready to understand gaming as more than just a path to profit, Come visit our gaming center. See what we're actually creating. Maybe then we can have a real conversation about the future." After they left, I walked back to the window, looking out at the city where I built my dream. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that reminded me of the first game world I ever created, all those years ago on a broken console that my parents couldn't understand. My assistant buzzed through. "Mr. Chen, the Japanese delegation is ready for the virtual meeting." I smiled, thinking about how far gaming had come, how far I had come. "Thank you. Let's show them what the future of gaming looks like." 3 weeks after my parents' visit, I received an unexpected email from my mother. "Dear Alex, I visited the career counselor you recommended. She suggested I start by actually playing some games to understand the industry. I downloaded that game you showed us in your office. I don't understand everything, but I'm trying. Mom." Attached was a screenshot of her game character, a beginner-level avatar standing awkwardly in our virtual world. She'd named it Mom Trying to Learn. I sat back in my chair, unsure how to feel. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as another attempt to get on my good side now that I was successful. But something about that awkward screenshot, that humble admission of not understanding, it felt different from their usual approach. My assistant interrupted my thoughts. "Mr. Chen, the school group is here for their tour." "Ah yes, every month we hosted students from local schools, showing them the possibilities in game development. It was my favorite day, watching young faces light up as they realized their gaming passion could become a career." As I walked through our office with the students explaining different aspects of game development, I noticed something had changed. Our latest game was running on one of the test computers, and there was my mother's avatar still in the starter area, clearly trying to figure out basic movements. "And this," I told the students, "is why game design is so important. Every player, from beginners to experts, needs to feel welcome in our world." After the tour, I found myself opening my mother's email again. Before I could second-guess myself, I typed a response. "Mom, press W to move forward. Space to jump. Let me know if you need help with the tutorial. Alex." Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. My mother actually started playing regularly. She was terrible at it, of course, but she was trying. She sent me questions about game mechanics, asked about the story behind certain characters, even started understanding some basic gaming terms. Then came another surprise, an email from my father. "Son, your mother showed me how to create an account. I don't understand most of it, but I watched some videos about your company's history. You've built something remarkable. I know sorry isn't enough for how we treated your passion. I'm not asking for a job anymore. I just want to understand the world you created. Dad." I found his avatar too, Dad Learning. He and Mom's characters would wander around together, probably the oldest newbies in the game. A month later, during our quarterly company meeting, I made an announcement that surprised even me. We're launching a new initiative, Gaming for All. It's a program to help parents understand gaming culture and connect with their children through games. Because sometimes the biggest gap isn't technological, it's generational. The team loved it. We created tutorials specifically designed for parents, guides that explained gaming concepts in simple terms, even special in-game areas where parents could learn without feeling overwhelmed. I didn't tell anyone that my own parents had inspired the idea, but I did send them beta access to the program. Their response came in the form of a video, my parents, sitting awkwardly at a computer, playing our game together. They figured out how to record gameplay footage, even though Dad's camera angle kept pointing at the ground. "Alex," Mom said in the video, her avatar jumping erratically around Dad's. "We found this area in the game. It has all these pictures of old gaming consoles. Is that your first console in there?" She was referring to our Gaming History Museum, a virtual space where players could learn about gaming evolution. And yes, I had included a 3D model of my first console, the one they'd broken. "We didn't know," Dad added, his avatar finally learning to stand still. "All those years ago, we didn't understand that you weren't just playing games. You were learning to build worlds." The video ended with them both failing spectacularly at a simple jumping puzzle, but laughing about it. Actually laughing. I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard them laugh about anything related to gaming. 2 months after their first visit, they came to my office again. This time, they weren't carrying resumes. "We want to show you something," Mom said, pulling out her tablet. She opened our game and navigated to a small virtual house her avatar had built. Inside, she had created a digital gallery of family photos, including pictures of me at various gaming competitions they'd never attended, articles about my early indie games they'd never acknowledged, all the moments they'd missed because they couldn't see past their own prejudices. "Your cousin helped us find these online," Dad explained. We missed so much, son," Dad protested. I watched as they proudly showed me their little virtual home, complete with badly designed furniture and crooked virtual windows. They were still terrible at the game, but they were trying, really trying. "The gaming center offer still stands," I said quietly, "if you'd like to see what we're really building here." A week later, I gave them a personal tour of our gaming center. I showed them our development process, explained how we created virtual worlds, demonstrated our latest VR technology. They asked questions, real questions, not just about money or business, but about the creativity and passion behind it all. In our testing area, I handed them VR headsets. "Want to try something new?" They looked nervous but nodded. I loaded up our latest project, a virtual reality experience designed specifically for our Gaming for All initiative. As they put on the headsets, they found themselves in a virtual room full of gaming history, from ancient arcades to modern consoles. And there in the center was a perfect replica of my first console, the one they'd broken. But now it was restored, running my first game mod, the one they'd never seen. "This is what I was working on that day," I told them as they stared in wonder at the virtual display. "My first attempt at creating something in a game." Mom took off her headset, tears in her eyes. "We were so wrong, Alex. Not just about the money or the success, but about everything. We couldn't see that you were building your future, not wasting it." Dad was still staring at the virtual console, his hands shaking slightly as he reached out to touch it, watching his virtual hand pass through the hologram. "All those years, we thought we were protecting you from failure. Instead, we almost stopped you from achieving something amazing." I loaded up another virtual space, our company's main gaming world. "Want to see what I'm building now?" They spent the next hour exploring the virtual world I created, still clumsy with the controls but genuinely interested in understanding it all. Their avatars stumbled around like newborn deer, but they kept trying, kept asking questions, kept wanting to learn. Later that evening, after they'd left, I received a notification. They both signed up for our Gaming for All program's parent support group. Their forum introduction read, "We're here to learn from our mistakes and understand our son's world. Maybe we can help other parents not make the same mistakes we did." I smiled and opened our game's development environment. Maybe it was time to create a special game zone for parents and kids to play together, to bridge the gap between generations through gaming. After all, that's what games had always been about, not just entertainment or profit, but connecting people, creating understanding, building bridges. My assistant buzzed through. "Mr. Chen, the elementary school coding club is here for their monthly gaming workshop." "Perfect timing," I replied. "Let's show them how to build worlds." As I headed to the workshop room, I passed by the display case with my broken first console. But now it didn't represent pain or misunderstanding. It represented growth, change, and the possibility that even the deepest rifts could be bridged one game at a time. The future of gaming wasn't just about technology or profit. It was about bringing people together, helping them understand each other, creating connections across all barriers, even the ones that seemed unbreakable. And sometimes those connections start with something as simple as a parent learning to play their child's game.